Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
To Monday. I'm going to add the day, Tom. That's my new thing.
Just in case people were confused about what day it was, you're going to make sure that they're aware?
Well, I went back and watched a couple of these the other day, and I was watching Thursdays, and I didn't know what day it was, and I was trying to figure out the sequence. So I thought it would be a useful little tool for people because, you know, not everyone can watch this live.
Okay, fair enough. So it's Monday, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Today's Antidote. I'm Tom Brush, that's Bob Graham, and we are here daily with this broadcast to provide that one thing. And maybe it's just the day of the week. That might be the one thing they take away. Everybody now knows. And nowadays, you know, sometimes people forget what day it is. We try to provide one other thing to help you move through your day. Maybe you use it today. Maybe you use it next week. Maybe you use it next year. But hopefully it is something you add to your toolkit so that you can move through the challenges that you face and beyond the obstacles in front of you. And we know that we just are one piece of the puzzle. And so if you have thoughts or comments, please feel free to share them. And if you have your own one thing, again, whether you're watching this live or watching it later, please share that in the chat because I'm sure that will help someone at some point, you sharing your value. So now that we're clear that it's Monday, we know what show we're on. This week, we're talking about change. So that's a little change, something new and different. So, you know, the topic is kind of why you do it, but it's probably important to talk about, you know, what does it mean for us in our business, in our work, in what we're trying to accomplish on a daily basis? Do you have some thoughts on that, Bob?
Well, I do. We're constantly forced to change. That is one of the realities. But I think there's change like nothing's working, I have to change everything. And then there's incremental change, planned change, strategic change, where you change one thing and see how it differs, and then change something else and try to figure out by sequencing it how you can get better. I was working with a company last week and we were talking about change, and the employees thought that we were going to change everything. Well, if you change everything, you haven't really changed anything because you can't figure out what works. So I think change is inevitable, but it's got to be structured and organized and thoughtful. Like you and I think we talked last week briefly about doing an email campaign and changing how we did that and really looking at what we were doing very specifically. Change this one variable, because what we often do is we change 7 variables and then we can't figure out which thing helped us. And so we're not gaining any of that knowledge, experience, perspective from that. We're just throwing everything up in the air and seeing what lands heads. And that makes it really difficult to move a business forward.
Sure. And I guess that's the thought process is that we're change all the time, right? I mean, there's so many things that are changing in our life. I was thinking about that this morning when we were getting started, like, although it's not necessarily a great question now because some people may not change their clothes every day, but most of them, we change our clothes every day, right? Why? Why do it? We could show up in the exact same clothes every single day. I mean,
it would be so much easier.
Well, there would be a lot less challenges that we would face, right? And yet we still do it. And so I think that's kind of the piece of it, is that we could continue the way we always have done things. From now until, you know, we leave a job, from now until the business is closed, from now until we die. And yet we choose to change all the time because we see things a little differently. And now we're trying to say, well, based on that experience, based on the knowledge I've gained or my perspective, I want moving forward. And so even if the change is tiny or the change is enormous, you know, we could have made that change in that email And maybe we saw a huge open rate change and be like, wow, this is the way we definitely need to do it. If we saw a very tiny change and be like, okay, now what do we need to do next? So I think that the value is that when we change things, we start to be able to gather some information and better understanding. Like if I change my clothes, people might say, yeah, that's a great looking shirt. Or like, oh my God, I hope he never wears that shirt ever again. Okay, I'll take that and figure it out.
And so, Tom, I think the thing we have to think about is when we need to figure out what is the right time to make a change, right? That's really why we do it, is what we're trying to accomplish. If something is working really well, and I've never worked with a business where some things aren't working well. Often the person's like, this is totally a mess, nothing works. Like, well, you're still getting the product out the door. Customers still getting what they need in the time you promise. Could it be more efficient? Yes. Could it be structured better? Could the website make it easier to order? Could the credit card system be more effective? Could the delivery options be better? Absolutely. But at its core, most of us have figured out the very basic essence of what we're trying to do. And wouldn't you say, I mean, of all the people you've talked to, can you think of anyone where they're just completely clueless?
No.
Don't answer. No. But think about it. There's always something to build on. And I think we as leaders, as business owners, as entrepreneurs tend to forget that. We tend to think it's got to be perfect or it's completely flawed, which gets back to our discussion of last week, right? What's right? If it's perfect, that means it's right. Perfect to me is another word for right. If it's flawed, that means it's wrong. To me, there's a continuum in the middle. And why we make changes is to improve that continuum, to move closer to better.
Yeah, whatever that might be.
Yeah, right.
And again, that is a judgment, which is, again, to use your part of it is, will we ever achieve perfect? Probably not. Although when we think we do, that's when we feel like, oh, we don't need to make any more change. This process is perfect. We've got it going exactly the way we are. Usually that's when things start to fall apart. And you stop getting the results that you got.
How about some comments, Tom? It's my favorite part.
I know you love
this. Here's my Tom's the man. Couldn't agree more. That's good for Monday morning. Bob's back on his back porch to warm up. We're at 0 today. I think that's Tim, and it's a little brisk in Texas. I saw on the news. It's a little warmer here. Hard to believe. Change is the only thing that's truly constant. Change will happen whether we want it to or not. Incremental change is the best type if we can manage it. And that's really the key, is managing it, taking control of it and looking at it. Pretty sad when I think that 24 sounds wonderful. I'm betting that's Tim. I can't see who the comments are from for some reason this morning. And if you can't or won't adjust, people are living in the past. If I ran my company today like I did 18 years ago, I would go under. Yes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those comments, Tom?
Well, I mean, I think that one, I'm glad that I'm not where at 0. That's which is a change typically. It's not usually 0 in Maryland. No. But I think it's so true is that even if we don't change, everyone else around us is changing. And so, yes, they are moving in a direction and we're standing still. And so I think that if we are not constantly looking at where might we make a change, trying to say, okay, what are we evaluating to better understand where we're at so that we can then think about, okay, well, how might we do it differently? And how might we then use that to help us keep up with everyone else, get in front of them, because everyone else is changing. Because again, they're being impacted every day by outside influences that make a difference in what's real for them. And so if we are not adjusting, we are falling behind, standing in place.
And it's not just the pandemic. If we had done this program 3 years ago, there would have been something going on. There have been tariffs, there have been economic changes, there are social changes, political changes, all kinds of factors that influence how we operate. So if you're thinking this is just the pandemic's effect on business, this is the latest. When the pandemic is gone, there'll be something else that will affect business, and it'll be something else after that. And the most effective business people I've talked to are like, yeah, I know it's going to keep coming. Sort of like one guy described it to me like waves crashing on the beach. You know another wave is coming. It might be really calm for like 15, 20 seconds, but you know another wave is coming. And he said, your job is to figure out, how do I deal with this next wave? Looking at it and saying, hey, do I want to go under this one? Do I want to pull back? And he said, that's what I do in my business every day. And it's like, wow, that's a really interesting way to look at it. Because I think we have the fallacy in our minds sometimes that we can control the world. And if we can control it, that means we can control what changes. We're responding and reacting.
Like everyone else.
Exactly.
You know, I think
and what works for you may not work for me.
Well, that I think goes back to where we're all different, and all our businesses are different, and all of our work situations are different. And so you can't always just say, well, this is I know exactly what you're going through. No, you don't, because you're not a part of it, right? I mean,
right.
It's everyone is living through their own reality in a different way. And so for us to think that things aren't always going to be changing and evolving. I mean, it was interesting to me, the number of people who have said, man, I thought when it was 2021, things were going to be different. Or, wow, when the vaccine came out, I thought everything was going to open up and be different. And I think that, then you're not understanding that there is always going to be change, that there are always going to be things that are going to happen, and we have to adjust to them. Whether do they have some impact? Absolutely. Is it the end all be all? Likely not, because at the same time, other things are changing. And other things, people are still dealing with other challenges, pandemic related or not. We all are faced with them.
So, Tom, what's your one thing today?
Well, I guess my one thing is, if our topic has changed, and why do it? And I hate to say this but because everyone else is changing as well. I hate to be the one. That's not really the renegade statement, or they're not doing it. And I think if we want to either keep ahead or move forward, we need to be constantly changing. And change just means looking at it, I think. It's an evaluation of, okay, and this is what change might be. We're going to keep going in that direction. We're just going to keep doing it, and we're going to modify them, or we're going to make a small change, or, and sometimes you have to rip the Band-Aid off and move forward. And so I think since the rest of the world is changing, we need to be also the ones out there as renegades thinking about changing all the time. And what does that look like?
I love it. Nothing to add to that. I think that's really it. We as renegades are constantly changing. We have to look at what the world's going to look like and respond accordingly. So, Tom, we should mention our networking event, which is coming up on February 25th, I believe, right?
Correct. Thursday,
at 4 p.m. Eastern time.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Yeah. So if you have been to networking events, whether in person or over Zoom, and been dissatisfied with the quality of the experience, and you haven't tried our Renegade Roundups, you got to give it a shot. We pull people together. We ask questions that get you talking, not so much about your business, but just about how you see the world. And that sparks discoveries, that sparks insights, and that sparks a true desire to actually talk to other people afterwards, which is the goal to me of those networking events. Not to get a signed contract, but to start the discussion. And we don't put you in big groups. We put you in a virtual room with one other person and a topic that you can discuss. So you have an easy way to approach it. So if you're someone who hasn't done a lot of networking, maybe you started a business in the last year and you're just not sure, these are the best networking events to cut your teeth on. We really take pride in these. These are, of all the things we do, Tom, I got to tell you, our networking events are my favorite. They really are amazing. So can you pop that script? Do you have a visual that we can look at for this one? You usually do. No?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. My bad. I thought, I know what's going on. I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. I didn't mean to throw Tom under the bus there. So,
That's okay.
So Tom, why don't we wrap up today? We'll be talking about change all week. But as we go out today, someone may not be aware of our Renegade Success Network, which is where we're taking leaders, business owners, entrepreneurs, and really helping them figure out what changes will help them achieve their goals. That's really what the Renegade Success Network is all about. Addressing changes and doing it in a structured, organized way, building on what's great and making it better. So if you haven't joined or looked at our Renegade Success Network, take a look at what Tom's about to show us. And otherwise, we will see you tomorrow for another episode of today's Antidote.
Thanks, everyone. And there is information about the upcoming network event inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. If you are not yet a member of that, it's easy to join. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades. It is a private community because we're trying to grow a group of people who are trying to help one another move forward and have a space for that. So you just have to ask to join and tell us why you're a renegade. So hopefully we'll see you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Or, as Bob said, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone. Are you struggling to make your vision a reality? Are you stuck and don't know what to do next? Are fear and doubt holding you back? The Renegade Success Network will help you determine the next steps on your pathway. Here is some of what you will get. Create your pathway call to start you on a better path. Unlimited laser solution sessions to keep you from getting stuck. Nurture your network events to build your network with other successful leaders. Monthly Renegade challenges to prepare you for what lies ahead. The Renegade Success Vault, giving you access to videos, tools, and tips on specific topics anytime you need them. And the Renegade Success Network community, an exclusive Facebook group of like-minded renegades, all working towards achieving their goals. You have a choice. Do it yourself and fumble forward slowly and alone. Or join the Renegade Success Network and be part of a community built to help you find your own pathway. Join today at renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Act now and jumpstart your journey on your own pathway to success.